is actually, I think, worse than the death of a spouse to a degree, because
I agree.
They're always still around.
Yeah.
You know, I still have to deal with him.
Going back to technology too, you've got remembrances all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, via Facebook and what have you.
His wife just posted on my son's Facebook page today, as a matter of fact. My son had put his diploma from UCF. He had finally gotten the mail. He posted it up there, and she congratulated him like right off first. You know, so there's always reminders, not just to him but of her. It's awkward.
Absolutely.
And it also brings back a lot of things. I told my mom actually a few weeks ago that I'd give everything up if I could have it back and have my house and have my family back. My mom thinks I was crazy. I don't know, maybe I was.
Well, you know, and coming from that background myself, you think that's what you want. God is seemingly very quiet during this time, but he's really not. I mean, he's working things in your favor.
He's working things out, right.
And he's big time working. I mean, you've got favor on your life because when you're at that lowest point in your life, God is strong. And he's
that's
working
how it says it in the Bible.
Exactly.
Paul said it.
I'm sorry I keep interrupting your story, but I feel like we're kindred spirit because we've been through a lot of the same emotion and just, you know, swap the male-female figures in the story. You know, God has definitely got purpose for you. There's a reason why you've been kind of put through what Mike and I, we refer to as a Joseph calling. Are you familiar with the story of Joseph? You know how his brothers cast him into a pit and he was sold into slavery. And
yes.
He went from prison to second in command in less than 24 hours. So we kind of feel like we've been kind of put through that Joseph calling or that Joseph test. You have as well.
Yes. When I lived at the Vista, I had went to Real Life because I tried to start dating, which that's a whole nother thing. But I tried to start dating, and this guy that I was seeing, he introduced me to Real Life. And
that's a good thing right there.
Yeah, well, if you didn't get anything else out of it, he did you a favor.
Well, I'll finish with him later. Anyway, I was at the Vista. We weren't seeing each other anymore, and Real Life was like right out my back door, literally. I could walk right out my back door to the church. So I said, you know, I've got to do something. I need help. That's all there is to it. So I went to church. I met Terry, and she was teaching divorce care class. And I thought, divorce care class? Well, it was for people that went through a divorce. And I thought, okay, so I'll go. See what happens. I think to this day, I mean, God sent me there to that class.
Oh, absolutely.
If he hadn't have sent me there, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Even like you said, that guy you started dating, that one little piece to the puzzle got you where God wanted you.
That guy, speaking of him, tried to later on date again and pick up the relationship, but I had to put him in jail for domestic violence, dating violence. He had a knife sitting on a couch. He had busted in my apartment, broke in, and he was sitting on the couch with a knife waiting for me to walk through the door. And again, as I started to step over the threshold, something told me back up. And I think it was God pushing me back out of harm's way.
Absolutely.
I would say so.
The guy jumped up and grabbed my arm, but I got away from him. I went to the landlord, who came down there and tried to reason with him, but there was no reasoning with this guy. At that time, I had moved to Leesburg, so I had lost a little contact with Real Life. I mean, still tried to come some on Saturdays, but it was a long ride. They caught the guy. I mean, they sent out, it looked like something from SWAT. It looked like I was in a movie, but they caught the guy. He did jail time, and when he got out, he was told to leave the state and not come back. But, you know, the divorce care class saved me, getting back to the divorce care class. If it hadn't have been for Terry and the divorce care and meeting other women that had the same issues and some even worse. Like I said, I wouldn't be sitting here looking at you.
I'm right there with you, Sheila. I mean, if it hadn't been for Mike and Tim, given their time, divorce care was probably, besides Real Freedom, was the first involvement at the church that I got into. It saved my life as well. I have to credit that.
I left here and went straight to the church because I just had to talk to somebody. I needed to talk to Terry or somebody. And I talked to Terry, and she says, she says, I can look in your eyes and see that you've lost hope. And this was as recent as within the year. And she says, you need help. You need some help. You've lost hope. I think you need to go to Real Freedom. It's on Tuesday nights at 7. And I think maybe some counseling would help. But she said, you need to do something. And so I went to Real Freedom because real life and divorce care saved my life. That's what saved my life.
Amen.
It could do so much for so many other women. There were 2 women that came in Real Freedom one night, and they were in the group that I was in, and they were both just starting a divorce. And I felt so sorry for them. I gave them my phone number and everything, and
talk about, if you would, kind of back up the film for us to the time that you were battling depression and you were over in the apartments across the way from the church. When did God sort of appear in your life in a supernatural way? When did God kind of come on the scene and say, Sheila, I got this? When did you start to feel a little hope?
I was, like I said, suffering from severe depression. I was in the apartment, windows closed, curtains closed, all the time, laying in bed crying. It got bad. I didn't even want to take the dog out. I didn't even want to get out of bed. A lot of days I didn't get out of bed except just to take the dog out and come back. Every night I'd pray really hard, asking God, to help me. That I didn't have the strength to get up and help myself. My family never really knew the depths of where I was. I told my mom a couple weeks ago that I told her, and I said, Mom, I said, you and Dad have no idea exactly how low I really was and exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, no, they try to help, but they really don't know.
No, they don't. She says, well, you're in a nice apartment and you've got a nice place, and I'm like, apartment and a place doesn't make it. It doesn't help depression. So anyway, I kept, praying and, just wanting God to help me somehow because I didn't have the strength to get up and even just walk across to the church, So I had a dream one night, and this is true. I had a dream one night that I was talking to God, and He was telling me He would help me, but I had to also help myself. I had to get up, try to make that first step, and that He would be beside me if I would make that first step.
Okay.
I thought about it. Actually, the dream was so vivid, it sort of scared me there for a little bit. I thought about it for a couple days, still laying in the bed, and then something, it just clicked. I got up, I put one foot in front of the other, I opened the curtains, I looked outside, it was a beautiful day. I went to real life. He just, I don't know, it was just a dream to me, but I guess it was him, that was His way of communicating to me that He would, take my hand and help me. But I had to be willing to also help myself at the same time.
He's good at wanting to take your hand.
He is, and He will find that avenue to communicate with you because you
Everyone
may be
is
totally shut down.
Right.
I remember him communicating with me through Joyce Meyer on TV and Creflo Dollar and Dr. Stanley and whatever I'd be listening to. If I'd be praying for an answer to something, I'd click on the TV and then Dr. Stanley'd be talking about it. My daughter and I call them you moments, where we just look up and go, you.
Yeah.
Shelia, thank you so much for coming by. I mean, I just feel like we could sit and talk all night. In fact, I might just brew up a pot of coffee and we may do that.
Yeah, we could talk all night. I want people to know, though, I want the women out there to know, and the men even, that are having the same problem, that you can get through it, that you can come out on the other side. I now have hope and faith. I'm doing great. You know, I've got my own place. My parents helped me with that, and it's paid off. So life's good. I'm in a good place now.
Great.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Again, thank you, Shelia, for coming by. I'm really looking forward to the next 3 weeks of having women on God Stories Radio.
That's going to be fantastic. And she'll be the first one to pioneer it.
That's right. That's right. And we have, I think, Janet coming in.
Jessica
week.
next week.
And then Marcia.
Okay.
Week 3. Just want to do an early shout out for boot camp. All you guys that have been to Wild at Heart boot camp, which is October 3 through 6. www.thelargerstory.com to get more information on that. And we are out of time. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself tonight.
I have as well.
I know there's some women and men out there that are going to benefit from it.
I'm absolutely sure of that. It's what God set up. It's all His.
It is God Stories Radio.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
So that wraps it up. This is session 9 of God Stories Radio. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
God bless.